Hello, everybody. Today we have Nicole Roberts with us. She is a leader with over 20 years of experience in transforming teams, improving workplace culture, leading with empathy. She strongly believes that people matter. Before we begin, I would like to welcome Nicole to our channel and thank her very much for making the time and speaking with us. Thank you so much, Nicole, for making the time and welcome to our channel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Same here, Nicole. Same here. Nicole, please tell us, where are you from?
I am from and currently live in Eugene, Oregon, in the United States.
Can you please talk about your education?
Yes, I hold a master's degree in organizational leadership and higher education.
Okay. Can you please talk about your career?
Absolutely. I would say my career has not followed a traditional path. And honestly, I feel like that's been one of my biggest strengths throughout my career. I have had opportunity to wear a lot of different hats, and that's definitely reflective in everything I've done. I've had the opportunity to work across multiple sectors, including retail, higher education, finance, healthcare, and even nonprofit. And I would say definitely have learned to lead with not only a strategic vision, but with depth, perspective, and empathy, and have been able to meet challenges from multiple angles throughout my career.
People matter is your core belief. What experiences have shaped that for you?
Absolutely. I would say that this has honestly been a lifetime in the making, mostly from watching what happens when leaders and organizations forget that. I've seen workplaces treat people like numbers, where profits come before people, where individuality is pushed aside. And that's really where morale drops. That's where turnover really spikes. And I've witnessed leaders and organizations scratching their heads wondering what just happened. One of my early roles, I remember, the organization seemed to have everything on paper, looked really great, but behind the scenes, people were treated as disposable. Burnout was really prevalent. Um, People just weren't happy to be there. And I definitely just remember thinking, this isn't a people problem, this is more of a leadership problem. So since then, I've really made it my mission to try to lead differently, to center people, build trust, and create cultures where people feel seen, heard, and valued, and just to be present. I really feel like if you don't prioritize people, nothing else really truly works.
What does leading with empathy look like when times get tough?
That's a great question. I think leading with empathy is easy when things are going well. I think it's when things get tough where it really counts. So for me, I think that means staying human, connected, real, and again, present for people. Um, Taking a moment to check in, being honest about what's going on, and showing people that they're not alone in whatever they're dealing with. It doesn't mean hard times don't happen, but I've definitely learned that if people feel included, if they feel heard again, if even in the hardest moments, you can build that trust instead of breaking it. So I feel like empathy isn't necessarily a weakness or soft. I feel it's really what keeps people grounded and connected, especially when everything else feels uncertain.
How can we turn around a struggling team or improve workplace culture?
It doesn't happen overnight, to be honest. But it definitely starts with listening. It starts with truly being present and willing to hear feedback, even when it's difficult to hear. You have to really understand what's going on beneath the surface, what's broken, what people are frustrated about, and what they've stopped believing in. I have definitely walked into teams where morale was really low, burnout was again really high, and the first thing that I did was just to stop and have those honest conversations and listen. But it goes beyond just listening. You have to actually follow through and focus on the small wins. And that's really where the trust starts to get rebuilt. At the end of the day, culture is shaped by what you allow, and also by how you lead. So if you really want to see change, you have to be willing to model that change in every single day, in every interaction, and follow through.
Yeah. How do you create safe spaces for thriving?
Honestly, I think creating safe spaces for people to thrive really comes down to trust and being human. It's making sure people feel like they can show up as themselves, that you create a space where they know they can ask questions, they can share ideas, and even make mistakes without fear of being judged or shut down or repercussions. For me, that really means, again, leading with openness. I simply don't pretend to have all the answers, and I'm not afraid to be the first one to speak up and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I really think it's that kind of vulnerability from leaders that sets the tone and really makes it okay for everyone else to feel like, okay, we can be ourselves here. So I think for me, it's really not just about creating comfort, it's about creating the kind of environment where people can grow, show risk, and know that someone has their back.
So, what does being a trauma-informed leader mean to you on a day-to-day basis?
For me, being a trauma-informed leader is a lot of the things we just spoke about. It means understanding, recognizing, listening, and being present, and then responding to the effects of trauma in a way that creates safety, trust, and empowerment. The truth is, everyone carries some form of trauma. Nobody is immune. And I think as leaders, we have a responsibility to keep that in mind when we're working with people. Um, this is really how we recognize how trauma shows up. Um, Even when it's not visible, it's not always, something that's easy to identify. So I think, whether it's creating space for people to speak up without fear, being thoughtful about how we give feedback, or just showing up with compassion when somebody's having a hard day, I think it all comes down to prioritizing that psychological safety.
Can you share a moment when this approach had an impact?
Absolutely. I had a moment that really did, stick out for me for over the last few years. It's when an assistant director actually came to me feeling pretty burned out. He wanted somebody to speak with, asked if he could come in. I said, yes, absolutely. Throughout our conversation, he shared that he had been promoted without even being asked if that was a career path that he wanted. And then to make matters worse, he really hadn't gotten any training or support once he had been promoted. So that was like really, really weighing heavily on him. And then when he did try to speak up to his direct supervisor, rather than having that support or open conversation, he actually was made to feel guilty. So by the time he came into me, he was definitely feeling burned out, wasn't sure if this was going to be the right career path for him still. And what I did is just I sat, I listened, I encouraged him to really speak his mind. Then I just validated his feelings and, let him know that no, you shouldn't feel guilty. You are an individual and you have the right to feel what you feel. Um, and then I just asked him, what do you need from me? How can I support you? And he really opened up, let me know the different things that, would help him. And you could just visibly see the weight being lifted off of his shoulders. He went from, downtrodden and looking like, he was about to quit on the spot to just visibly his face and his, countenance just completely lifted and he had a smile on his face by the time he left. So, I think it really, again, is just about you've got to be willing to listen and validate people with how they feel.
How do you find the right balance between having rules and caring for your team?
I think good leaders recognize that rules and caring go hand in hand. They're not necessarily opposites. They actually complement each other. Really, when you have structure and rules, it gives people clarity, and it really does build trust. People want to know what's expected of them, and that the rules are fair and consistent. Nobody wants to go into a situation not knowing what's expected of them. But I really think the key is how you apply those rules. Are you leading with curiosity and compassion, or are you just checking boxes? For me, it's also, it's really about creating a culture where people feel supported, but they're also held accountable. So you can definitely care deeply about your team while still holding them to high standards. Those things are not necessarily in conflict. I think, in fact, when they work together, that's when teams really come together. They're cohesive, and it becomes a win for the whole organization.
Why do you think unpaid internships are such a major issue, and what can we do about it?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought this one up. It's near and dear to my heart as I have a child who's getting ready to graduate college and is facing this as a real reality currently. Honestly, I think unpaid internships is a huge equity issue. I always come back to the question or the thought, who can actually afford to work for free? And I think the answer is not many of us, and students are really kind of at the top of that list. They're already juggling school. They're often working. They have bills such as rent they're trying to pay. And now they're expected to work additional hours for free. I really do think that, again, the equity issue, I don't think it, is something that most people can do. So expecting them to work for something that may or may not yield a job in the end, I just don't think it's very realistic. As far as what we can do about it, I think first employers need to rethink the assumptions around early career experiences and that those should be unpaid. I think if somebody's contributing their time, their energy, and their ideas to the organization, I think they really should be compensated, plain and simple. I think really what we can do is, potentially advocate for more paid internship opportunities, push for policy changes, and definitely hold organizations accountable. And then as leaders, we can absolutely kind of be at the forefront of pushing for that change, looking to change that status quo so that we can get more of those paid internships.
What's one change you'd love to see in how we support new talent entering the workforce?
Yeah, I think, one of the big changes is that I would love to see a shift towards more realistic expectations and better support from day one. I think we have become a society of instant gratification. And so we have this expectation that new talent needs to walk in the door with all this experience. And when they don't have it, we tend to act surprised. Instead, I think we need to be investing in solid onboarding and training right from the beginning. That's really how you build longevity. We always know it's more cost effective to retain our current workforce than to have to continue to rehire because people aren't happy and they want to leave. So shifting those expectations away from perfection and to start building people up with the tools they need to succeed, I think is really the biggest thing we can do.
What kind of mission or team are you excited to lead next?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to be part of a team that truly cares about people, both the ones that they serve and the ones that they work alongside. A team that's cohesive in its mission, where everyone is clear on roles and expectations and really going in the same direction and working towards that shared purpose. I really want to lead a team in a space where values are more than just a statement. They actually show up in the way that they treat each other, not just clients, but again, working alongside people, where culture is intentional, where people truly work to be collaborative. That's the kind of alignment and heart-centered leadership that I think is most meaningful. And when that happens, I think it's so impactful. And so that's really the type of team I'm excited to lead and grow with.
What kind of positive impact do you hope to be remembered for in your professional journey?
I hope I'm remembered as someone who led with heart, who made people feel seen, supported, valued, and heard. Somebody who didn't just focus on the outcomes, but on how we got there, really by building trust and empowering others and creating spaces where people can really thrive. Whether it's through mentoring, it's through shifting cultures or helping someone believe in themselves. I want my impact to be about people and not just the project. If folks say she made things better for me, for the organization, then I feel like I did something really meaningful.
So, what is life according to Nicole?
For me, I think life is about, growth, connection, and doing the work that truly matters. It's about learning from your experiences, especially the hard ones, and using that insight to make things better for others. It's being able to rise after you fall. It's finding the light in dark places and choosing empathy even when it's not easy. It's definitely not about having it all figured out. I think it's about staying open and grounded and human as you keep moving forward and learning as you go.
So, what advice would you like to give to your younger self?
Advice to my younger self would be not to worry so much about what other people think, to understand that failure isn't necessarily failure, but a stepping stone towards success, not to fear that failure. I would remind myself to love herself more, stop shrinking to make other people comfortable, to continue to trust her instincts. I would tell her she's stronger and more courageous than she realizes. Um, and that, yeah, sometimes people will let you down, but not to let that dim her flame. Um, that she wasn't meant to play small roles.
And finally, what does success look like to you? And when do you feel like you're living your purpose?
Yeah, to me, success isn't about titles or trophies. It's about impact. It's knowing that I've made somebody's day better, whether that's in my professional life or my personal life. It's knowing that I've helped someone grow, whether again it's a team or just somebody in my own personal life, or that I've created a little more clarity or hope when there wasn't any before for someone. I feel like I'm living my purpose when I'm using my voice and my experience, as well as my leadership to lift others up and support them. When I see someone step into their own strength because I helped clear a path for them, that's when I know that I am exactly where I was meant to be.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your wisdom and vision with us. Your people first approach is not only inspiring, but also a blueprint for meaningful change. We wish you continued success in all aspects of your life. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this video and have a good day. See you in the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.